Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today's December 9th, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery. You got BC, Washington, Oregon to the upper right, ridge of high pressure dominating our weather for the next couple of days. And then we've got some storm systems back across the Pacific Ocean that are going to be knocking on our door. We'll take a detailed look at that as we go through the video here this morning and the extended forecast as always. Visible satellite imagery. Look at some of that dense fog across the Willamette Valley. There is some foggy conditions east of the mountains, kind of hit and miss there as well. Puget Sound also hit and miss. So yeah, we do have that going on here again, and that's going to continue for the next couple of days. But some of the higher terrain, when you get above some of that lower level cold air trapped at the surface, you can see we got some glorious sunshine out there. You can see Mount Hood, Mount Adams, Mount St. Helens, and Mount Rainier on the GOES 18 satellite imagery. Now, current conditions, check it out. You can see Boise, Idaho, look at 29 degrees, freezing fog currently. You got some pretty chilly conditions. Eastern Oregon, Yakima 28. I think Ephrata there checking in at 24. There's Spokane at 28. Warmer west of the mountains. A couple areas still in the 30s, but you can see Seattle at 41 degrees. But look at Salem and Eugene, socked in there, quarter mile. Some pretty dense fog across some of the Willamette Valley. And looking at Spokane here, areas of fog this week, reduced visibilities, black ice resulting in slick roads. They put this out at 7 a.m. this morning. Spokane National Weather Service, as always, is on top of things. Now, looking at what is going on right now, you see this big ridge all the way up into Alaska, across British Columbia. We're kind of in the wake of that system that's moving now across our eastern portions and out of our region. If I scroll through here, you'll see the arrival of the next system. This one is kind of decaying there, but we get another system as we go through Wednesday night into Thursday. Some mountain snows and some precipitation possible with that one. But that's just kind of setting the table here for the next system that spins up fairly deep low off our coastline. And there's some big model disagreement on just how this is going to develop or what kind of winds it is going to bring. But some of the models show a pretty impressive pressure gradient on the south side of that storm. So we really have to watch the track on that one. And that's where last night's European model run ends, right there about Friday night. Now, in the short term still, we've got some offshore winds coming today. You can kind of see that. Here we go. Easterly winds, the gorge there, Washington, Oregon border. You can see Stampede Gap and the Stevens Gap right here. But a fairly light wind regime here unless you are near one of those terrain features. And then we scroll off in through Wednesday morning. Again, we're going to be dealing with some foggy conditions, but we start to switch things up as we go on in through the day Wednesday and start to bring a little bit of southerly wind in advance of that next system. It will start to stir things up a bit here, at least west of the Cascades initially. Now, if we take a look at visibility in miles, let's scroll through the day today. Not too bad once things burn off for those of you guys lucky enough to get out of it. And I should mention that here, it shows some of the fog there across the Willamette Valley, but some areas will try to burn off today, but it might not completely burn off for everybody. Okay, now back to Tuesday morning. You can see the redevelopment of the fog there for Puget Sound, Willamette Valley, and some portions east of the mountains as well. So another foggy morning on Tuesday. And then maybe one more here as we go through to Wednesday morning here as well. You can see the foggy conditions out there. So then as we head off in towards the later portion of the week, we have a better chance to stir up the atmosphere a little bit here. More on that here in a moment. Taking a look at Seattle-Tacoma, this is what's known as an inversion. This is tomorrow morning about 7 a.m. You can see with the dew point and the temperature meet at the surface, you get some of that fog. But once you get aloft, look at all that dry air there and the warmer conditions once you get across some of the higher terrain. So that is what is known as an inversion when you have the warmer temperatures above that cooler layer at the surface. Now, looking at the European as of last night. So again, we have a couple dry days coming up here. Probably much of the day Wednesday is going to be fairly dry, but then the next system starts to arrive, bring some precipitation, a bit of mountain snow here. Not much to write home with that frontal system. But then we turn our eyes to the stronger storm developing off our coastline. The storm deepening here until about, about Saturday morning. Then it starts to fill as it moves up the coastline in the European, but still packing a fairly decent pressure gradient on the south side of that. You can see that would be a fairly robust gradient. You're looking at 12 millibars over a short period across some of the central and southern Willamette valleys. So we really have to watch the track of that low. Plus, we've got chances for snow east of the mountains across the higher terrain of the Cascades, Washington, Oregon, spreading some of that snowfall up into British Columbia across the Rocky Mountains. So that is going to be a bit of a wallop here with this storm as we go towards the end of the week and into the weekend. Going to be watching that one closely here over the next few days. If we take a look at this morning's GFS, let's see what it says. Here we go through the day Wednesday, and then the system arrives. It favors Oregon and California a little bit more on this morning's GFS. Some mountain snows. Looks like Oregon cascades down through the Sierra Nevada. That system swings through, and then the stronger storm arrives. Look at this 974 monster off our coastline there. So we really have to watch the track of that. Any change in the track closer to the coastline here would pack a wallop here for the Pacific Northwest. So we'll watch that one very closely. And again, you can see widespread mountain snowfall, maybe even some snowfall into the lower elevations east of the mountains. And not snowfall time here yet for Portland or Seattle or Southwest BC. And then that system kind of moves up in towards British Columbia here. And then the GFS wants to keep things somewhat active as we go through the fantasy portion of the forecast here this morning. So we're not going to worry about that here too much just yet. Seattle, Tacoma, this is last night's European model. It does show some stronger gusts here as we go through the weekend. But you notice that a lot of the ensemble members don't have very impressive gusts. And the control run only called for 30 miles per hour. So we still have a lot of work to do in the forecast to try to predict what is coming for interior portions. And of course, it's more likely to be windy along the coastal areas. And if we take a look at Portland, something similar there as well. Some of the ensembles do have some higher gusts in there, but they're few and far between. Astoria, also something similar, a little bit higher winds showing up there. Now, east of the mountains, we do have the chance to bring some lower elevation snowfall as we go towards the end of the week and through this weekend. And this is what's known as total snow plume. This is the European model. There are 50 of these gray lines. We take the initial conditions best we understand them, and we tweak each one of those a little bit, and you can kind of see how they diverge as we go through the forecast. The blue line is the control run. Those are the initial conditions. We just leave it alone and let that run out. And the green line is the mean of all the ensemble members here. So yeah, we do have the chance for a little bit of snowfall for some portions east of the mountains. Yakima, something similar here as well. Look at the control run. It's almost an outlier here versus the other 50 ensemble members on the European. You can see calling up towards 5 inches by the time you get towards Saturday morning. That would be kind of a treat. Unless unless that messes up your agricultural issues out there. I know that sometimes you don't like to see that snowfall, but it's better than a hard frost, right? It better have the snow covering things versus the hard frost, as far as I understand. So anyway, I digress. Bend Municipal Airport here. You can see a little bit of light snow showing up. Some of the ensembles do have a bit more. This is Eastern Oregon, known as Pendleton Airport, and you can see generally half an inch there, but there is a potential for more snowfall out of the system as well. And it doesn't take much to make things slick, so I thought I'd show that. Now, taking a look at yesterday afternoon's European model run, this is the 0Z run. Again, we get a bit of ridge of high pressure here initially, then we bring this next system in here as we go through Thursday, and then the stronger storm arrives as we go on in towards This is Saturday night, and you see this thing really impacting much of the Pacific Northwest, all the way from British Columbia, all the way down through California, all the way out towards western Montana. And then this storm system will be swinging through, and you can see that the European wants to keep us active. Another strong frontal system as we were to go on and through next Tuesday. Some, fairly robust low-pressure systems trying to make passes here at the Pacific Northwest as the storm train remains pointed at the Pacific Northwest in last night's European model run here. But of course, this is just a fantasy forecast, just showing you that, there was some agreement with the GFS with an active extended forecast. But of course, it's been flipping and flopping back and forth. Some of these model runs have been showing the storm tracks staying off our coastline and back up in towards Alaska and southeast Alaska. And then you get these runs like yesterday afternoon's European and this morning's GFS, where it's much more active here for the Pacific Northwest. So still a lot to watch here in the upcoming days. Here's the avalanche forecast. They dropped it back down to moderate here for much of the region. You can see Mount Hood, they do a little report for, and you can click on any one of these individual areas. If I click on Snoqualmie Pass, for example, you can see even the lower elevations. Right now, the avalanche danger is fairly low. But if you scroll down here, they do all kinds of stuff. They do the forecast discussion. They explain exactly what the problem is with some of these avalanche conditions and whatnot. So yeah, and they do snow levels and all that kinds of stuff. So anyway, if you want to check that out, go ahead and do so if you're headed off towards the backcountry. 6 to 10 day, much of the lower 48 above average chances. There we go. Pacific Northwest still in the above average category there. 8 to 14 day. And you can see above average still for the Pacific Northwest. But anyway, yeah, that's this. The strong system is not rolling in until it'll be developing out here on the day Friday. So we still have plenty of time to look at that and fine tune the forecast. And we'll start to raise some alarms if things look like it is going to get windy, of course. Continue to check back here daily. What else? Click like and subscribe. We'll do this all again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.